Looking at the syllabus, as I mentioned in the last session, today we are going to cover 4.1.2, 4.1.3 and 4.1.4. Right. So transaction processing systems is something we do in a daily basis. It's a system or set of systems we use for collecting raw data from the customers or the external sources, which in turn we discussed that it needs to be validated, needs to be corrected, and it needs to be, documented properly, stored properly, so that we'll be able to feed it into the higher systems such as MIS, DSS, and executive supportive systems. So here MIS, management information systems, and decision support systems come under the second layer of the pyramid, where to support routine tasks or to support the managers, functional managers of a department, for them to be able to take some decisions related to their operations, right? Then going further, we'll be discussing executive supportive systems are systems that support the top management of an organization. So let's begin with MIS. So very short set of slides. It's not going to be very lengthy. So a management information system is an organized collection of people, procedures, software, databases, and devices that provides routine information to managers and decision makers. You can see the same definition we saw for TPS, this front part, except the fact that here this is something that provides routine information to managers and decision makers. So we have discussed that in a TPS you get various inputs from different sources, and we store some of them in the database, or we generate some simple reports, or maybe utilities, bills, checks. All these can be printed out of these TPS systems. Once you have information in the database, that can be fed into the MIS systems, and from there you can take some reports. You can generate some reports. So the TPS receives input from various sources, which it then edits and processes to create various outputs and to update a database of valid transactions. This database can be accessed by an MIS to create various reports, including periodic reports, exception reports, summary reports, drill down reports, and on-demand reports. Right? We'll be discussing briefly in the next set of slides what are the periodic reports, what is exception, and what is on-demand reports. Also, I think there is another detailed section that comes a bit later on discussing about drill down and summary. So let me first explain what is a summary report. So through MIS, these are the types of reports that can be generated, right? So summary report means, let's say you want to get a summary in sense it is straightforward. Like you have many data collected over a day or collected over a week or month, and now you want to see a kind of a aggregation of all of it. You want to see a summary of the progress, maybe the total sales, or maybe the total revenue or profit you have generated for each item. So it gives a summary of each department or each functional area you want to see. So that kind of report is called summary report. Drill down report is something where in this system, when you click on or when you try to press on a button or some information, it keeps on going further. It keeps on going further, diving deep, right? So that kind of a report is known as a drill down reports. Now, to get an idea of where this drill down type of menu is used, you can see, for example, if I click on this time button here, button or this task here, now it opens up a interface here where I can see the calendar. Now see, if I click on this month or year, it goes to the month. You can see it goes to the month. Then let's say if I click on a month, it goes back to the detailed view of the days that are in that month. So if I click here, let's say I click on 2020. Right. So now it further gives me a range where I can select something between 2020 and 2029 onwards, right? So this kind of a reporting interface. So this is just a simple GUI, but if you have a report where you can click on something and you get further details, you click on that, you get further details. That kind of a interface is known as a drill down report. Drill down reporting. I hope you get that idea. Already you might have experienced this in Google Maps. So in Google Maps, when you click on a town or when you zoom in, you get some information. Then maybe when you go to a restaurant or like you hover your mouse on top of a restaurant, you click that, you get further information about maybe the photos and maybe additional details about that restaurant. So that those kind of reports, if you can generate reports like that, we call them drill down. So very basic level of reports can be done. Such kind of reports can be done in Microsoft Excel, very in a detailed way. Okay, so let's discuss the other ones. Periodic reports. So what is periodic scheduled report? This traditional form of providing information to managers uses a pre-specified format designed to provide managers with information on a regular basis. Example, daily or weekly sales analysis report and monthly financial statements. Now, for example, these kind of information might be not changing in structure. It might be having a fixed structure. So what we can do is, instead of a person going and asking the system, hey, I want this report, please generate it for me, instead of going and typing commands like that, what they can do is they can schedule it, right? Okay, every week at this particular time, this kind of a report needs to be generated. So they will specify that in the respective system, and the system will take care of automatically generating that report. So that kind of report is known as periodic scheduled reports. Right? You give a time, and on that time, that report will be generated. And maybe additionally, if it's advanced MIS system, you can configure your email address, or the person who needs, the manager who needs to read that report, that system will automatically email the report to that relevant person. Okay, so that is called periodic scheduled reports. Next one is exception reports. Now, as the name says, you have already learned this word somewhere. Can somebody explain what is an exception? Anybody in the call who can explain what is an exception? You have learned this, I know. You have already learned this word somewhere else, exception. So, anybody can give an idea what is exception? You can use your mic, you can type. It doesn't have to be correct. Just tell me what is exception. Okay, let me ask a simple question. Have you heard the word exception? Okay, in Java, yes. So in Java, you have learned doesn't follow a rule in something. Actually, if we can put it in a simple word, what an exception is, a condition where something is abnormal, a condition where some activity happens abnormally. That kind of a scenario we call an exception, right? Like normal operations happen, suddenly there is an exception, means exceptional situation. Exceptional situation. That is what is called exception. Because some special case. So in systems, when you are involved in using an MIS, some kind of MIS system. So as I mentioned in the previous one also, periodic one. Now periodics will send the regular reports. But now let's say there is a disaster, or a website suddenly got shut down in the middle of the night. Now people who are working on the website will be sleeping, right? They will be on their beds, they don't know what has happened. So if you have a system that could generate exception reports and notify people, such kind of a system is a robust MIS system. So whenever there is something going out of normal, it will automatically generate the report. So that kind of report is known as exception reports. So in some cases, reports are produced only when exceptional conditions occur. In other cases, reports are produced periodically but contain information only about this exceptional condition. For example, a credit manager can be provided with a report that contains only information on customers who have exceeded their credit limits. Exception reporting reduces information overload instead of overwhelming decision makers with periodic detailed reports of business activity, right? So this is one benefit of it. It reduces information overload instead of overwhelming decision makers with periodic detailed reports of business activity. I mean, the previous report we saw, it will always show everything, right? Everything what has happened, and you get a general idea. But exception is kind of filtering out. It will filter out and give only the exceptional information to the decision makers. So that way, people can take some quick decisions. Right? You can come up with many different varieties of exception report depending on your need. For example, let's say this electricity company. Right now, electricity company, CEB or somebody, for example, if they're using a system, I'm not aware. Now, if they want to just see people who have not paid for the last 3 months the utility bill, so they can just run a condition like that and it will generate reports of only those set of customers, right? I mean, so in general cases, they will have everybody, people who have paid, who have not paid, or new subscribers. Every report will be there in a periodic schedule report. But exception is something which I mentioned. So if they want only some special case, they can do. Right. Another category is the demand reports and also the responses. So demand report information is available whenever a manager demands it. So this is the nature of demand report. Example, web browsers, DBMS query languages, and report generators enable managers at PC workstations to get immediate responses or to find and obtain customized reports as a result of their requests for the information they need. Thus, managers don't have to wait for periodic reports to arrive as scheduled. So demand report is whenever they need it, then and there they will receive it. So periodic is they have to wait, no, they have to wait for a specific time until that report is generated. Demand is not like that. Demand is something you can go and directly get it at that moment. So that kind of report is known as demand reports. So sometimes if the person is more familiar with query languages such as DBMS, so they can directly use the SQL or DBMS related language on the relevant tool and use their custom queries. They can write their own queries and get the necessary information from the database. Right. So that is what is called demand reports. Information silo. So what is an information silo? Somebody needs to mute. Okay. Good. So information silo. So have you seen silos like this somewhere? This kind of a structure. Now you have in Norachalai this electric plant, this chimney kind of thing. So those are called silos. Or even if you come to this Seguantiu in Puttalam, you have these windmills. So each of these windmill, those fans are fit on a silo structure like this, right? So it's like cylinders, large cylinders. So now in management or in operations, when you work in a company, generally what is the case is you have these different departments, different functional areas working on their own, and there is very less opportunity where one department shares information with the other department, or not only sharing, collaborating as well, because people are fixed into this mindset. They work as silos. So an isolated information system that is not easily capable of exchanging information with other information system is called an information silo, right? Which are not easily able to exchange information with. So one unable to share something with the other, that kind of a situation we call that particular thing as an information silo. So the silo mentality is a way of thinking that occurs when groups of people don't share information, goals, tools, priorities, and processes with other departments. Such thinking degrades operations, reduces employee productivity, and can lead to the overall failure of a company or its products and services. So unfortunately, this sort of silo mentality was the basis for the design of many TPS and MIS systems. So at the beginning, they developed these TPS MIS systems, keeping these things in, based on this information silo idea. Right? Then only later they introduced these collaborative features. So same thing applies to your learning process as well. Don't become information silos. It will only benefit you, or maybe even it may not benefit you. So please try to share information, share your priorities or goals with others wherever necessary. Right? Even if you go to a workplace, any kind of workplace, any environment, don't become information silos where you do only your own work, or you be only with close set of people. Right? It's good to have friends. It's good to have a set of colleagues who work with you in a company where you can share your ideas. But when it comes to a real working scenario, you can't only rely on that small group. You may have to, be a little bit agile and move with the other departments as well. Okay. So that's a general tip of advice. Okay, another explanation for MIS. MIS provide information in the form of reports and displays to managers and many business professionals. They are the most common form of information system in an organization. So an example is given. Sales managers may use their network computers and web browsers to receive instantaneous displays. Instantaneous means something that is happening at the moment. So they can use these things to get information about the sales results of their products and access their corporate intranet for daily sales analysis reports that evaluate sales made by each salesperson. So this is a simple example. A sales manager can use these technologies or the available devices to generate on-demand reports. So instantaneous display means on-demand on-demand reports. Then maybe analysis reports could be the drill down type of reports, right? Drill down and other periodic schedule reports, etc. Okay, that concludes the MIS part. Any questions on that, on this small session we went through? So do you get an idea about what is an MIS? Let's move on to our next one, DSS, Decision Support Systems. So decision support systems are computer-based information systems that provide interactive information support to managers and business professionals during the decision-making process. So here is one point to note. One thing that is differentiating a decision support system and an MIS is, in decision support system, there is a more interactive nature. What do you mean by interactive? Interactive means where the user can, like instantly communicate with the system back and forth. So they can be kind of directly attached to the system throughout. So what are the available varieties of DSS systems? Analytical models, they use analytical models, specialized databases. Also, decision makers' own insights and judgments can be used in the process. Their own thought process, whatever the person as a human being they're thinking, that decision or those ideas can also be fed into the system to make a conclusive decision. Also, an interactive computer-based modeling process to support semi-structured business decisions. So semi-structured business decision means sometimes you may have, now let's say for known problems, you may have a set of rules. Okay, if this is the problem, this is the solution. You may have that already pre-programmed into the system. But there might be certain cases where it is semi-structured in a sense. There might be a solution to a certain problem, but there might be some gaps as well, where additional information or judgment might be needed to reach to the final solution. So in that case, maybe the manager's own ideas can be fed to make it. So they'll have to deal it in an interactive way. Right? They have to feed some data and test it, then evaluate it, then again correct the data, feed it back, and test it, and until you come to a final solution for the problem. So that kind of nature is there in these systems. DSSs are designed to be ad hoc, quick response systems that are initiated and controlled by business decision makers. Decision support systems are thus able to support directly the specific types of decisions and the personal decision-making styles and needs of individual executives, managers, and business professionals. So this is some of the advantages of using a DSS, right? Directly supports the decisions of the personal decision-making style, because what happens is over time, when a lot of personal decision-making styles are ad hoc means random is another way to understand this. Ad hoc is there is no fixed sequence of operations there. Depending on the situation or the problem that is raised, DSS will adapt to that situation. So ad hoc is like, it is more flexible. You don't have a fixed set of conditions to work on. That is what is meaning by ad hoc. Is that clear? Now in MIS and all, you have it all fixed. It's mostly fixed because you rely on the existing data to do. But I told already in the beginning of this DSS, this is more interactive, where user needs to put their ideas and they have to decide, they have to do a lot of things. So that is why it has to be ad hoc, and because it is ad hoc, it should also be quickly responding. So that is the nature of DSS. Right. So what I was mentioning earlier was, now when you have managers' personal decision-making styles fed into the system, over time or after some time, the system will know how to handle the situation, because already the manager's ideas are now fed into the system. So now there might be a AI component, artificial intelligence component, or maybe there could be some data mining technology in the DSS system, which can predict in future if a similar problem occurs. It doesn't have to wait for the manager. So that will maybe propose a solution. Based on what? Based on the previous experience interacting with the same managers. So these are decision support. Now, at some extent, even in smaller softwares or in a TPS and all, you have a small feature of decision support systems you have already experienced. Now, in Excel, for example, right? You may see a small feature of Excel. In Excel, when you're typing something on a cell, let's say first cell you type some letters, second cell something else, third cell something. Now when you go to the fourth cell and you want to type a similar thing like the first cell, as you start typing, you might notice it will give you suggestions whether you want to type this or not, right? So that is called, that is a small, very small level of decision supporting system features, because it has already known your entering style or what you are going to type, and it gives you suggestions. Now similarly in some this autofilling softwares, now when you are using a IntelliSense, for example, IntelliSense, I don't know whether you have used, yeah, in IntelliJ, most probably, when you're typing a Java class or a property and you press dot, it gives you many suggestions. No? As a developer, it gives you many suggestions. Which one you want to use, whether you want to use the property or the method. Where it doesn't give you it doesn't give the user to memorize everything, so it gives the suggestion. Easily you can pick up something on the list and enter it. Even in Gmail, when you're typing, now these days Gmail is very smart. When you're typing a sentence, it gives you a suggestion to autocomplete based on what you have typed. So these are some features of decision supporting systems, right, built into the daily needs. But here we are talking about a separate set of system or systems which have dedicated decision making capabilities. Decision support systems rely on model databases as well as databases as vital system sources. A DSS model base is a software component that consists of models used in computational and analytical routines that mathematically express relationships among variables. Right? So the main thing in a DSS system is a DSS model base. So it's a software component that consists of models. Models mean there might be some predefined rules which can be used in the computations or the calculations or analytical routines, which will relate to each variable. There will be a lot of variables inside that. So it will mathematically show the relationships between the different variables. So those variables are stored as different models. Now, for example, a spreadsheet program like Excel might contain models that express simple accounting relationships among variables. Right? For example, if you want to calculate profit, you have to, from revenue, to revenue minus expenses will be shown as profit, for example. Or else the concept of formulas in Excel, that is called a model. Now let me open Excel quickly. So all these things you have already experienced, but now we are trying to see where these things fit into which area. So let's say I open a Excel. To see a DSS component in Excel, you have these formulas tab, for example. So here you can see to calculate sum, max, min, there are certain functions. If I want to do financial things, now this, let's say if I take mathematics to calculate costs, what needs to be done, or the count, min, max, sum, subtotal, square root. So all these formulas which you have already learned in Excel under the different categories, these are all pre-built models. Because why we say these are pre-built models? Because we don't have to do the calculations separately here. We don't have to invent something. Simply what we do is we use that is already there, right? So this is what I wanted to highlight. So such kind of stuff are known as DSS models. DSS model base could also include models and analytical techniques used to express much more complex relationships, right? It might contain linear programming models, multiple regression forecasting models, capital budgeting, present value models. So these are all related to statistical information or statistical formulas can also be coming under this category. Such models may be stored in the form of spreadsheet models or templates, as I showed you, or statistical and mathematical programs and program models. So it's like a block of functionality. Similarly, in Java, as you write a class, and a class has a method, whereas method is going to have some set of lines which will do some functionality, or it may return something out of the method, or maybe it may just do, it may be just be a void function, void method. In that case, that is doing something, and you store it in the program, and you store it somewhere in the database, that functionality. Whenever needed, we just call that functionality in our programs, in our work. So those are such kind of models are known as DSS models. Then you have packages, software packages that are having this. So DSS software packages can combine model components to create integrated models that support specific types of decisions. DSS software typically contains built-in analytical modeling routines and also enables you to build your own models. Many DSS packages are now available in microcomputer and web-enabled versions. Of course, electronic spreadsheet packages also provide some of the model building, as we discussed, and analytical modeling, right, offered by more powerful DSS software. Right. So what they're telling is how these different models can now be integrated into one software. So Excel is a very good example of that, where you have multiple models combined as a software package, and that can be shipped for functionality for the relevant people. Right. Like that, there are other softwares as well, which has the same nature. So this is a small example to understand how a DSS works in a web-enabled marketing system. So you can see how the information is entered is through either legacy software, that means software that is already being used by the people. So you get information from there, or maybe from the web browser or any other software programs. So there will be certain user interface functions in the DSS. So this particular functionality is a part of the DSS system, where you have to provide a user interface. So that can be a hyperlink multimedia, maybe 3D visualization, any form of user interface. Then what that happens is goes to another layer called model management functions, where it transforms it into analytical modeling or statistic analysis. Then it transforms to the data management functions, where it has to talk to one or more databases, or it has to fetch information from one or more databases. So as part of data management functions, data extraction, validation, sanitation, integration, replication can happen. So we'll be learning this later in little bit detail. So what we have to understand is these are some of the functions, high-level functions that can be seen in a decision support system. So you need a user interface, a set of user interface functions where you need to capture and show data back. You need to have data management functions where you need to send or store data and retrieve data back. In the middle, you need the transformation part, where when you get some information from the database, you need to put it in through a business logic here and then present it back, right? Similarly, from whatever you capture there, you have to do some business logic there and send it back to the database layer. So this is a basic structure of a DSS. So the functional advantages of using a DSS. Some examples are given now. If you look at the supply chain, DSS plays a major role. So simulating optimized supply chain flows, reducing inventory and stockouts. So here are some example companies who are using DSS systems in these different functional areas. Now, if you take a pricing, so how does a DSS support in pricing? Identifying the price that will maximize yield or profit, the maximum income. So to decide that, also DSS is used. Human capital. Select the best employees for particular tasks or jobs at a particular compensation levels. Especially when you have a lot of teams and you have a proper system that can track the performance of employees, it will be easy for choosing the best people for a best set of tasks or a future challenge. The system can automatically predict and say, okay, these are the people who are suitable for this job. So a manager can easily go and take their decisions for that. Financial performance. So better understand the drivers of financial performance. Right? So I leave this for your reading to contemplate on your own. So these are some examples of where DSS is used, in which functional areas of the business, and the description of that is given here. Okay. So that concludes DSS. Any questions on DSS? So let me ask you a question if you say understood. So what is the main differentiating feature between an MIS and a DSS? Okay, let me ask like this. What do you do in MIS? What does an MIS do for you? What does a DSS do for you if you are a manager? Maybe I'll add another question. What does a TPS do for you? So we are learning these systems. We have to know at least what is different, because sometimes when I keep on describing, it may appear to you like all these are same kind of thing, slight differences. Overall, maybe decision making, day-to-day transaction, yes, okay. But how do you differentiate them? How do you understand what is TPS is doing for you? What is MIS doing for you? What is DSS doing for you? Right. Close to the answer regarding MIS. Technically correct. So DSS, not DIS, DSS, okay. Provide interactive information. Okay. So TPS Any others? What does a TPS do for you? Right. Keep in mind, just listen to this explanation. This is a different way to understand the differences. Okay, whatever you have typed is acceptable, but just to understand properly what these different things are doing, let's start from TPS. So it's TPS fundamental business object. So TPS, what we do is TPS helps you to capture information. It is only focusing on the input side of things, right? It allows you to capture information and maybe just produce some output, such as a receipt or a bill. Because a receipt or a bill cannot help you in decision making. It's just getting the input and doing some logical operation and just producing an output. That's it. So the very basic input output activities happening at TPS. When you get the stored information of TPS used in an MIS, MIS provides you a statistical, analytical information. Not statistical, actually, static information. Static in the sense you get a fixed report, you get a fixed set of output that is already processed internally, like doing some calculations, many things happen, and you generate a chart or something. So it is a static information. When you go to a DSS provides you a way to take further decisions where you can interact with the system. You interact and get some proper decisions, right? So this is the flow you have to understand. So TPS is just input output. MIS is getting input from the TPS and providing you static information. Yes, you can take some decisions, but you can't take serious decisions with an MIS. With the DSS, what happens is it's the next level of the MIS where the manager uses their own ideas also to contribute in the decision making process. Because in an MIS, the manager cannot put the ideas, they cannot put any feedback into the system. You have to rely only with what the system is showing from the databases. But in a DSS, you mix your input and finally come to a output that is going to help you with the decision making. So I hope that is clear with what is DSS, with all these three things I mentioned. Is that clear? That's the way you have to kind of, when somebody asks you the explanation, you should be able to give this explanation. So if you understand this at a high level, and all these notes are nothing for you, you know, okay, what is a DSS, what are the components. So this is what a DSS is doing, this is what an MIS is doing, this is what a TPS is doing. So if you know this flow properly, it's very easy. Okay, let me go to the final thing for today. 3 or 4 slides, I think, or 6 slides. Executive support systems. So this is the next level on top of DSS. Executive information systems or executive support systems are information systems that combine many of the features of MIS and DSS together. So it is combining the features of MIS and DSS together. When they were first developed, their focus was on meeting the strategic information needs of top management. Thus, the first goal of executing information systems was to provide top management or executives with immediate and easy access to information about a firm's critical success factors. That is, key factors that are critical to accomplishing an organization's strategic objectives. Right? So imagine a situation where you have MIS and DSS together, then you can understand how powerful that system will be in supporting the decision making process, right? So you can see charts, you can see a lot of fixed information that is available in the databases, plus you can have interactive nature together. Right? So such kind of things will help the top management. So different names used for these systems: enterprise information systems or executive support systems. These names also reflect the fact that more features such as web browsing, email, groupware tools, and DSS and expert system capabilities are being added to many systems to make them more useful to managers and business professionals. So general features of an EIS: information is presented in forms tailored to the preferences of the executives using the system. So mostly it is customizable. That's what they're saying. Tailored means it is customizable to the people who are using it, especially the top management. So how does it support that? One thing is through the GUI, the graphical user interface that is provided by the EIS is one thing. Also any other graphics displays that can be customized to the information preferences of executives using the EIS. Also, it will have exception reporting and trend analysis features. So exception reporting you have already learned under MIS, so that will be there. Trend analysis. Trend analysis means you can see predictive things like what is going to happen in the future, or forecasting data can be seen. So that is another feature of EIS. Also, you'll have drill down capabilities, which allows executives to retrieve displays of related information quickly at lower levels of details. Right? So drill down happens like that. You dig into information further. Right. An advanced version of EIS is now called Enterprise Information Portal. So it is a web-based interface and integration of MIS, DSS, and EIS together, and other technologies that give all internet users and selected external users access to a variety of internal and external business applications and services. So this is like a big system where you have all these capabilities and you have this intranet extranet concept. So you already know what is intranet, where employees or people relevant to an organization will have access to some of the things within the organization, such as access to email, project websites, discussion groups, human resources, web self-services, customary inventory, whatever is relevant to the organization. So there will be some set of interfaces or softwares that connects to that provides that capability. Also, there could be external applications, might include industry, financial, and other internet news services, where users don't have to only rely on internal information, they can access the outside worlds all through the enterprise information portal. Basically, what we say is, for example, if there is a news related to their company work, which is a news from a public news website, these people will not go to that newspaper website and type the URL and go. Instead, what happens is you will have a feed, a news feed. Normally you have this, in some websites you will see on the left or right side, you see some news going like this, top to bottom or bottom to top. Each and every link will be appearing, live feed. So they will see the news similar to that. So they just click on that. It will open a summary of the news, which will also not allow the user to go to that website directly. So it will fetch the data. So those kind of things, we call it external applications, right? So such kind of a combination where you have internal and external application facilities is known as a enterprise information portal. So simply, it is a web-based solution where these three types of systems are integrated. So enterprise information portals are typically tailored or personalized to the needs of individual business users or groups of users
giving them a personalized digital dashboard of information sources and applications. So they will have a home page kind of a thing where they can see a summary of all things that are happening. The Enterprise Information Portal is a customized and personalized web-based interface for corporate intranets, which gives users easy access to a variety of internal and external business applications, databases, and services. So this is a alternative definition for this EIP. We have already seen it here, so that further a different explanation is given. We have already discussed that. So the benefit of this is providing more specific and selective information to business users. They will be more selective on information, right? Providing easy access to key corporate intranet website resources, delivering industry and business news, and providing better access to company data for selected customers, suppliers, or business partners. So the data, you don't have to expose all your data to outside parties, but through an EIP you can have control over what information you need to display to the customers, what kind of information should be revealed to the suppliers. So such kind of control is available in an EIP, in an Enterprise Information Portal. So if you are asked a question on the benefits of EIP, just highlight these points. You can have total control of what information you are going to show. That's the simple to the different people. Okay. Further, enterprise information portals can also help avoid excessive surfing by employees across company and internet websites by making it easier for them to receive or find the information services they need, thus improving the productivity of a company's workforce. So the other advantage is the people who are working within an EIP, they don't have to rely or search for information out of this system. Every information that is relevant to their work can be served within the portal itself. So portal is just, as we saw, it's just a website, and within that website itself they will have all information needed to finish their work, right? So some companies have such kind of a concept implemented in the for security reasons, right? Okay, so that ends up our discussion on executive support system. So along the explanation I gave, what is a TPS, what is an MIS, and what is a DSS, now you can simply understand ESS, executive supporting systems or executing information systems, are systems which integrate all these three capabilities, all the capabilities of the previous three systems using web technologies. Right? Simply that is a simple explanation. So if you're going to take some points, that is how you have to note it down. Right? So TPS is simple input output. MIS is providing static information. So when you say static information, it is going to support only the routine tasks of the managers, right? That is implicitly mentioned. Then DSS provides an interactive interface, or it provides an interactive capabilities where the human manager can also share their ideas and knowledge with the system to collectively come to a conclusion. Whereas a EIS or a ESS combines all the best features of the TPS, MIS, and DSS along with web technologies to support the day-to-day operations of an organization. Right? Okay, so that concludes 4.1 basically, organization structure and information systems. Any questions on that, on this last part?